Good morning, everyone. This is one of Rare India initiatives for the World Tourism Day 2020. I can't think of a more opportune moment where the tourism is impacted so greatly that we should all come together and try and look at destination in a special way. Sustainable tourism, regenerative tourism, responsible tourism have been great drivers for us as Rare India. And one of the things that we'd like to highlight is how action and adventure forms a major part of what we offer for India and the subcontinent. We have with us Vaibhav Kala of Aquaterra Adventures. Hugely accomplished, 28 years in the adventure industry. Aquaterra Adventure Company is a company that organizes all the three adventures. It's called the Tri-Adventure Company. He also runs a beautiful boutique retreat just close to the Ganges called Atali Ganga, which from the beginning has been promoted as an active hotel. One element of travel that is yet to see its full potential, in my opinion. Over to Vaibhav. Welcome on the show, Vaibhav, and thank you for doing this.
Good morning, Shobha. I hope you're well, and thanks for sorting this great initiative.
Thank you, Vaibhav. To begin with, I would like to welcome you as an esteemed Rare partner. You will be one among a very few experiential action and adventure companies that we will be promoting. So let's begin by talking about your journey in the adventure industry.
It started in 1992. I'd graduated from St. Stephen's College in Delhi, which had a very active hiking club. So my 3 years was spent doing a lot of hiking, climbing, planning outdoor activities for groups, for our college groups, etc. And then young and foolish, at 20, I signed up as a trainee within an adventure company. And it was the perfect sort of foil to lead me through a career, which eventually I could envisage because I really liked the outdoors, and that's all I ever cared for. So it was great. It was early days. There was no market, internet, aviation revolution yet, and things were really pristine, and the outdoors were really untouched. There was no domestic market. It was a handful of people who had experienced trekking within India. Most of the movement was inbound. So early days, lovely days. Yeah. So that's how it started.
What are the things that are promoted in Aquaterra Adventure Company?
So it started with basically wanting to offer a whole gamut of the outdoors. We were running camps as early as 1996 and mobile trips, self-contained safaris. That's how we started. And then we started our river running operations in 1996. A lot of trekking trips began in our first year itself. So the whole idea was to not be a specialist operator, say, in Rishikesh or in Ladakh, but basically be a pan-Himalayan operator that offers journeys, whether they're self-contained or provided, river running from like 2 days to like a week-long expedition, trekking trips from like 2 days to 3-week-long expeditions. So it was basically the repertoire was going to offer a very wide repertoire to our guests, which wasn't sort of the norm there. This was early mid-90s, and one had to drive 130 kilometers to make a phone call out of state. These were early days and early thoughts, but we stayed the course, and I think we lived true to that promise 25 years hence.
Fantastic. So river running is one activity, trekking is the other. What's the third?
Climbing trips. We do everything up to about 6,400 meters, getting people to plan for summit adventures. We run camps on the Ganga and the Tons valleys. We run a lot of self-contained travel in Ladakh, in Spiti, all the way to Arunachal. We run the most number of rivers in the Himalaya, the Ganga, the Alaknanda, the Bhagirathi, the Kali. In Arunachal, we run the Siang, the Upper Brahmaputra, the Subansari, the Lohit, and the Dibang. 12 months, India is uniquely placed, because we have the Trans-Himalaya. You can ostensibly do adventure year-round. You can fly into Ladakh in the middle of winter. You have, during the monsoon, you can be in the Trans-Himalayan region where there is no rainfall. It's completely rain shadow. So India is uniquely placed in the sense of, having an adventure map that works around the year.
Now that you talk about Ladakh, there's this huge push to promote Ladakh as a winter destination, which currently it is very, very packed in as a summer destination.
Yeah, so the ice hockey team practices in Leh. It's a great draw. I mean, I've spent a few winters in Ladakh. It's dry, cold, so your days are still warm. The sun is out most of the day. The mornings and evenings, yes, are sub-zero. It is very cold. But again, small, well-planned, regulated travel can really work, and primarily because of the flight. It's a 50-minute flight. You land at 11,500 feet. You spend a couple of days just acclimatizing. There's lots of drives. So yeah, it can be a lovely winter destination for people who want to do things differently. It will not be like your regular sort of winter holiday, but it's got great spots that you can still get out. There are hardly any people. It's the highest and largest district of India.
So where do you see India on the adventure map of the world? Where are we placed uniquely?
I think I'd be very ambitious if I was to say that we've arrived. I think we're on our way. We need to have a few ducks in a row sorted, and I think it's being done slowly, steadily, under the radar. Things are moving. It's something that will show results over the next decade, and we really hope that will happen. I think we need to improve a lot of our connectivity. We need to improve our perception of safety, of women's safety, of solo travel within the country, the ease of travel. I think a lot of that needs to be sorted.
What, in your opinion, is the world's best adventure destination?
That's a very difficult question, Shobha.
What's your personal favorite, for instance?
Again, a very difficult one. I mean, there are just so many. It's a tough one to answer, but I think that within the Himalaya, the kind of diversity that we have vis-a-vis most other adventure destinations across the globe, you cannot find that anywhere. You can't find that in the Andes, the oldest mountain chain in the world. You will need to come to the Himalaya to see the amazing different cultures that reside within the sort of communities. And it could be a walk in the Marka Valley, or, a rainforest walk in the Namdafa, or a slow boat down the Brahmaputra, a big climb in Garhwal, where you go without seeing habitation for 8 days. The diversity is just so much.
Yeah, I completely see that. Are the 3 adventure activities you spoke about in India, is that the ambit of adventure tourism?
Not at all. We have, I think, about 41 verticals in adventure, and there's a lot going on beyond just the camping, the trekking, the rafting, and the climbing. There's a lot of aero, there's a lot of sea stuff, a lot of inland water sports all across India. I mentioned the 3 because that's the one that we specialize in. You look pan-India, but pan-adventure and pan-activity. It just needs to be more regulated, and word needs to go out that India is
spoken about in
So India is still considered a destination for the forts and the palaces and the Taj Mahal. We need to change that narrative a bit, and hopefully, things will change.
This whole exotic India thing should also move on to other things, and tourism can be a great driver to this. I keep telling people this: it's just not about the Taj Mahal and forts and palaces. It can be an all-year destination. And adventure, of course, action and adventure is one of them. Where would you place rafting in these 41 activities for both the incoming and the Indian traveler?
I think it's grown hugely, Shobha. Domestically, it has grown hugely. The mainstays of regular day tripper, tourist, weekend warrior sort of rivers that sustain that clientele. But there's a lot of rivers that take some getting to, that are wilderness expedition style river trips, which are also gaining popularity. In terms of rivers, like in the mountains, there is immense amount of diversity. You could be doing a week's long run down the Zanskar Canyon with walls rising 3,000 feet above the river vertically, or you could be in the Marmong Gorge in Arunachal with just rainforest that you can't see more than 6 feet within. So yeah, those are the sort of runs that India is uniquely placed to promote, and it's an activity which very few people do on a yearly basis. So it's highly rare to find group travels going. It's largely FIT travels, that people who want to discover such valleys and have these experiences. So yeah, it's growing, it's on its way, but there is a large amount of work that's needed to again work on safety and regulation of especially the day trips that run on the Indus, the Beas and the Ganga.
Would you say expedition style rafting still needs to come into its own? Do serious rafting people consider India as one of the boxes to tick?
I think people who are aware have India high on their expedition rafting bucket list, but there's a lot of awareness that isn't there. I mean, expedition rafting really gets you out there. It gets you very close to communities, gets you close to the land. So I think the connoisseurs of river running know that India has many hidden gems and very few people on them, and which is why that segment has grown over time. Otherwise it wouldn't have, and it is we see it growing every year with a little help, with a little nudge away from the regular Incredible India campaign. I think it can work.
Rafting and adventure for sure. What are the best rivers in India that you would recommend for?
Again, in terms of just sheer diversity, I'd pick a river like the Tons. It's alpine, it's technical, it's steep, it's one of the best, hardest runs in the Himalaya. The Zanskar for its remote, stark desolateness. The Siang, for just the sheer size, I mean, there's not a river after that's bigger in terms of size. It's remoteness. Every year they find new species there. It's the biodiversity is unparalleled. These are the Mahakali, the border between India and Nepal. Out of Jungle Book, 100 kilometers of no roads. It forms the international border. Stunning valley, that too. So yeah, we have a few gems for sure.
And you run expeditions to all these rivers?
Yes, Aquaterra operates, and we've been operating these trips for over a decade and a half.
And a typical expedition itinerary would be for how many days? And for a serious rafter?
They range between, say, like the Tons and the Kali, the rivers that are more accessible, say a week, to, say, the Zanskar and the Siang in Arunachal, to about 12 days. So they all come in at under 2 weeks. So it's a perfect vacation.
How many people on a expert-led expedition? Like you go on expeditions, I know because I saw your Siang Valley program and I was quite fascinated.
Normally, average sizes vary anything between 8 to 16 odd people. There's the guides and the staff, and the backup drivers and the truck and
paramedics.
Well, our entire team's trained in wilderness first aid and CPR, and we on our hard remote trips we carry AEDs, stretchers, satellite phones. So all that backup goes into really outfitting a remote expedition.
Yeah. It's really exciting, Weber. I know the rivers are graded for their difficulty when you're rafting. So what's our grade? I mean, what's the highest, and where do we stand where grading is concerned on some of our important rivers that you're talking about?
Grading is basically your degree of difficulty in navigating a craft down a rapid or a stretch of river. Depending on where you are on the river, you get everything from 1 to 6. Commercially, all our commercial trips guide about 4+, 5-. That's the maximum we do. We don't put guests on anything that is above grade 5. Class 6 is, of course, unrunnable, suicidal, so that's out of the question.
Sorry, what was that about the Class 6?
Class 6 is suicidal or unrunnable, so that's anyway out of the equation. You always carry rafts around it.
Are we saying that every river will have various grades of difficulty, or you say Ganges is grade 4+? Is that how you grade it?
So the section that is run on the Ganga is graded between class 3 and 4, depending on the time of year. Go to the tributaries of the Ganga, then you'll find your class 5s and your class 6s. So every river, depending on what stage of the journey the river is at, you will find a difference in the grading.
That's fantastic. I hope people listen to this and try and promote India as an adventure destination, especially for activities like this. I mean, the whole thought of running a river and being upfront and close to various cultures and ecosystems is just very fascinating. I just wanted to know about the Siang because I was reading about the Siang expedition you're doing. Are you going to do any of these expeditions now?
The Siang is a trip that we run, Shobha, every third week of November, like clockwork it goes. It lands in Dibrugarh, where you're treated to a sit-down Assamese dinner, a literal sit-down on the floor dinner, and then you make your way, you wind your way 2 days up to this little village called Tuting, which means an open place. It's where the Tibetan religion meets the more animistic tribal way of life, and we start our river journey from there. So it's 2 days of lovely rainforest drive, and then you descend to the river. And now this is a big river. It's got 30-foot wave trains that can go half a kilometer or more. It's very, very deceptive, the size. It makes you feel very small. The beaches are absolutely enormous. Some beaches will take you 10 minutes to walk from one end to the other.
Wow.
And these are river beaches, and you carry everything with you, your tents, your food, clothing, your sleeping bags, everything is carried. So you're really like a self-contained unit that's going down 180 kilometers of world-class white water every day, beaching every evening to set up camp and moving on again. So it's nomadic. It's very surreal. It's very primitive. But it really gets you into those deep gorges that nothing else can.
Yeah, typically not many people run that river, right?
Well, very few people, I dare say, have seen the innards of the Ninging and Marmong gorges on this great Upper Siang River. So, you go there, you're sure to be one of those very few people who
it just sounds fascinating. Yeah. As a adventure company, what are the things that are very special that you always held as the core of your business?
An adventure company is only as good as its gear and its guides and the guidelines it follows. So we always focused on minimizing outsourcing because that's where a lot of the Indian tragic stories are based out of. We try and control all the variables that make or break your adventure trip, especially because we travel to remote areas, like a car not showing up or a hotel room not there is disaster. So it's unlike a city, where you can quickly like make other arrangements. We can't. We don't have that luxury. So it was always our own people trained with us. They stay with us year round. We grow a team that's in-house, that's equipped to handle everything, that's certified, that has the experience, because that's what really carries an adventure outfit through. Our gear, it meets, international standards and much more. Ultimately, you are providing people hospitality in the outdoors, and it needs to be of a very high quality, and safety cannot be compromised with. We've tried to use local. We've had great luck in finding great partners in all the states that we work in, whether it's in India or overseas. We've had partners that we've trusted for decades. They know our parameters, they know our expectations, and they're more than happy to meet them. We make sure a lot of our guiding team is from the Himalaya. We want to give back to people. We want to give back to the places that we work in. Over 80-85% of our revenues go back into the areas and to the people from the Himalaya. That's been one of the big ideas when we started.
That's great. And in fact, my next question to you was about responsible tourism and how sustainability and the values around, to keep the destination pristine, because you're going to places that are totally uninhabited. You want to leave it like that. What are those elements that you really weave into your programs? And what would your advice be for general adventure operators or even travelers listening in?
It's been a very disturbing trend watching what's happening to the great Indian outdoors. And there's certainly this phenomenon of mass tourism that has entered the outdoors. In fact, we're fighting bugyal bans, and there is trash on the trails, there's trash on the hills. This never used to happen. I think the generation from where we come from, had to be taught to you, or you just did it because it was the dignity that with which you left a valley. You carried your trash out. You made sure you cleared all your dues. You made sure you respected local communities and their areas. You respected the rights of every citizen to enjoy that pristine bit of heritage and the outdoors, and everyone has a right to it. So this whole thing was never under question for many, many years, and it's almost stunningly sad to see the way it's changing, and that we have to talk about responsible tourism because people are not being responsible and not carrying their stuff out, have scant respect for local communities, and are unable to respect just simple things. We have a great term for it now, but I think we need it. We need to talk about it because operators need to be educated. Communities need to be more aware that, hey, don't do this. It might be great for business, but it's not good for the future, not good for your grandkids. So I think I have a mixed view on this, and we really need to look out for this. And I think at an industry level, look out,
and more and more people talk about it. It just creates a lot more attention towards not only in the travel, generally around the world. Everybody living like a conscious citizen of the planet is, of course, very, very essential, and travel can be a great driver on this. Coming to Atali Ganga, which is a lovely lodge that you set up on the Ganges, how did that come about? And in fact, for me, Atali Ganga changed the parameter for river rafting, that camping and river rafting, to like this luxury stay and river rafting. I think it made a switch. But I know Atali Ganga runs with a very solid idea and ideal.
We ran a lovely camp. It was called Camp Silver Sands from 1996 to 2015. So that was nearly 20 years of running a fabulous, world-class, boundaryless experience on a river beach on the Ganga. When we left it, the river claimed it back. It was an amazing experience for guests from all over the world. That got shut down. The whole industry got shut down in 2015. Again, a litigation at the NGT, which wasn't proven. So a lot of that idea went down the river, so to say. But before that happened, we'd been listening to our customer. Since we don't have much marketing going on, we rely on a lot of customer feedback. And all I was hearing, how about like a clean toilet, a comfortable bed, a great mattress? Give us that, Vaibhav. And we heard that enough, to start setting up Atali in 2010. And we started operations about 8 years ago, 2012. And it was just backed by the entire Aquaterra DNA, our DNA of putting people out there into different experiences. So we have a 12-hour calendar at Atali that offers, birding and hikes and river rafting and kayaking and kayak school. And we have a climbing wall and a mountain bike course and a high ropes course. You can have fantastic experiences of hike, bike, paddle all in a day. There's yoga and meditation. We have a little spa. We run acupuncture clinics. We run writer retreats. We run India's only Tri-Adventure Challenge, once or twice a year. Base for a very unique, lodge that runs on an activity USP. And I think it's still fairly standalone 8 years down the line. And we managed to do that just by solid backup of a very safe activity schedule.
Absolutely, and a yoga retreat is just coming up.
Yes.
So Active Hotel is what Atali Ganga is called for those of you listening in. Vaibhav, anything else you would like to share? It's been wonderful talking to you, and I'm just really excited to go on that Siang Valley expedition with you.
All I'd like to say is we restarted our post-COVID operations on the 10th of July. And for anyone listening or planning to begin resurrection, I would say please do. There are people out there who want those experiences, who want to go back. I'm on a trek myself in 10 days' time into glacial territory. So there are lots of people out there who want safe, unique experiences. So if you're providing them, please begin. I think you'll find good luck.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Thank you for your time. It was fabulous talking to you about the experiences and of course the rivers of India, which kind of await your explorations. For all of you, the only thing I would like to tell you is keep the positivity going. Explore the country. There are various ways to promote India. Adventure, action and adventure is of course one of them, and there are many, many takers, and running them responsibly and with a sense of exploration, I think is the best way forward. And you have Atali Ganga and Aquaterra Adventures. You can go onto their website, check what they are doing. Vaibhav is available for any chats you want, and of course you can reach out to Rare India. Thank you so much.